Trance busting 2. What's the point? We go into trance every day. Actually, we go into trance every day, pretty much all day. Anytime you are not feeling in charge of yourself, or anytime you feel like time changes, like you're so focused on watching a movie that you forget that it's 2 hours long, and you let yourself go into the movie time, where you just don't notice how the time flows. How many things that happen inside your mind do you feel you've chosen? Thoughts crop up, breath is taken, movements are made where you don't actually notice why and how you did the movement. There's a whole range of things that we need to do without consciously controlling them and deciding. And that's cool. They work great. And an important part of things, of how we live and how we operate in the world. And it's a good thing. Right now, you may have noticed that plane coming over and realize that it disturbed your concentration, disturbed how you could hear my voice as I talk. You might even stop seeing me for a little while because you were irritated by the plane coming over. That was a momentary trance. The idea is that we let go into the trances all of the time. In fact, it's good for our health. The whole definition of entertainment is how good, how deep was the trance, and do you feel good after the trance? So you come out of a movie, as mentioned before, and you feel great. And because the presuppositions, everything you know about the movie says it's a fantasy, it doesn't usually have much of an effect on your choices of life. When you come to see a hypnotherapist, or you are going to any other kind of therapist, in fact, you're expecting your life to change, or you're hoping your life to change. And if they're doing that right, then they can use trance as a way of helping your life to change. But part of the way that they want to do that is by you gaining more choice over how you pay attention. There's a saying that we have, where the attention goes, the energy flows. So if you're doing cognitive behavioral therapy, which I offer, you are learning how to pay attention and how to choose where your attention will go in order to be able to decide what sort of perceptions, reactions, and emotional connections you make inside. You can get more choice over. You can recognize and discriminate the difference between a good response that is based on real evidence from the outside world now, and reactions that may have come from the past, generally, or maybe just internal responses that are not actually related to the reality you're experiencing right now. That perception, the evidence of your senses, the evidence of rational thinking through what cause and effect really is all about. Poetic thinking is beautiful. I love it. But sometimes it can be a negative. If we look through, you can look at sort of different categories of emotions that have a tendency, almost all emotions can be out of balance, can go too far. So part of the process of trance busting, as I'm calling it, is to be able to recognize when your responses are out of balance, when you're going into trance motivated by a negative, uncomfortable, even painful response that is not related to the reality that you're facing. I use the chakras as in a lot of different ways in my work. Some of them is the physical thing about doing energy healing on the chakras of at different types and different things through massage or energy healing. I also use it as a categorization of emotional responses. You have fear in the first chakra, desire in the second chakra, body and your relationship with your body and structure, like plans and things like that, in the third structure. Taking action and being totally passionately involved in the fourth chakra, the heart chakra. How you listen and how you communicate, which are totally interrelated to each other, in the fifth chakra, the throat chakra. Where you get meaning and purpose, and how meaning and purpose works for you, and therefore your relationship with your whole cultural context, as well as insights that might come from your cultural context, your poetry and purpose in the sixth chakra, the third eye. And then your relationship with the unknown and the unknown. When do most people reach for God? When shit happens that's beyond their control, when it's unexpected or unknown events are taking place and you want to reach for it. Other people who are atheists or otherwise will go for cosmology, for big world pictures, or for other kinds of, or may have just simply psychological responses, like talking about cognitive dissonance and things like that, where how you adjust and deal with when the reality is different to your assumptions. And that leads to a cycle, because quite often the reason we experience fear in the first chakra is because of unexpected events, because of cognitive dissonance, and we have this tendency to then react with fear or caution, at least. Then you can go through with each of these and look at what is the trance version of each of these experiences. Each chakra has a trance version. Fear is phobia. Fear is when phobia is out of balance. It's not related to the evidence, because it's a picture of a spider or the ocean or of a high place, and you're perfectly safe, and yet you have a reaction as if the picture is a reality. You've become so focused on the internal expectations that you're no longer reacting to evidence. The second one, desire, is often about obsession. Obsession is related to fear. They are the yin and yang of each other, if you like, because often we go so deeply into obsession and desire because we are avoiding anxiety and fear. But anxiety can also be a product of fear. That's another part of, say, the first chakra trance. The second, that obsession and compulsion, lust to the point where you're just enjoying the image of a person and getting off on the image of a person without the emotional reality of the person. That's another part of the trance of the second chakra. Third chakra is shame, and shame of your body, and it becomes bulimia and anorexia. It becomes not being able to see what your body is and who your body is and what the reality of your body is. It's also, in a social setting, it's when you give yourself to a structure external to yourself. It's I call it the corporate trance. Corporations being social bodies that have been declared to have an identity of their own. And people who go so completely into the corporate structure that they no longer can see anyone outside of the structure as real people. It's the term I use, and I don't know if I found it somewhere else, is selective empathy. So you can have someone who is a very intelligent, powerful man at the top of a corporation who doesn't see the emotional and real consequences of sacking people. All he's doing is what is good for the corporation. Well, who is the corporation? The employees, the people. You can have people who will kill for their corporate body, being the nation, or else they'll overlook killing technologies like smoking or vaping or insecticides and other things, and asbestos and things like that, for the sake of the corporation. And they are not psychopathic. They're not incapable of empathy. They just apply it selectively to people who are part of their tribe. The hate and love can be trance-like, and that's the fifth chakra. There's different layers of it. Action can be a trance because you're so involved in the process of action that you're not connected with the sensitivities of listening and the throat, and you're just so involved in action because it's beautiful, it feels real, it's the way you're connecting with the world and you're affecting the world. You can see that world there being affected. That's one level of a dissociated form of trance that comes out of the fifth chakra, the fourth chakra, operating with from the heart through your hands. But the other side of trance is the emotional reality of hate. You can be so completely entranced by hate that and the need to take action. So you attack people, you're involved in it. You need that action in order to feel you're real, because you've lost yourself so much in the hate. And people can fall in love, and the negative side of love is the abuse situation, where a person overlooks the reality of that person for the sake of love. They let themselves go into that worst aspect of obsession, and you can say the languages of love, where a person who is so entranced by the need to hear the word love, because that's their language. They know they're loved when someone says it to them, and they overlook completely the actions of the person who's in front of them, and they are so afraid, and so it activates the other chakras. They're so afraid of being alone, they're so afraid of the person's actions that they don't release themselves to it. In the listening side, you can be so involved in the process of passive sensuality, of listening, of being involved, that you don't take action. You just get so involved in it. The sixth chakra, you can be so involved in the realm of ideas, of internal experiences, that you ignore and overlook that. In some traditions, like some of the yoga traditions, this is considered beautiful. This is what enlightenment's about. This is what meditation's about. That you are released from physiology, from sensuality, and you're so involved in the processes of introspection that you're free from the consequences of emotions and things. And as I mentioned before, the seventh is cognitive dissonance when you do it. I'll do more on this soon, but let's take a little quick exercise before we go. Move your attention around your body, feeling different parts of your body and what the simple sensations of your body are. Who makes that decision? Where are you when you move it to your hands or your feet? Who is making that decision? How are you making the decision to move your attention around? Explore that question.